What's up, guys? We are back for episode number 2 of the new season of the Big Cat Chat podcast with Shawn, who is to my left, and Brian, who is below me. Everybody's back. This is the new squad. Videos back and everything. Shawn and I actually have new mics now. Here's mine. Brian is poverty, and he does not have a new one. So that is to be determined, but this is kind of this isn't our big off-season podcast. We're probably going to have a couple of those, but this isn't our first one. This is a little one because the Jags hired their head coach, their general manager, and a bunch of other assistants. The rest of the league, besides the Texans, we'll get to that, have hired their head coaches as well. So let's go ahead and get started. Before I start, also in the background, I have a Duval Together flag. But yeah, let's go ahead and start. To start it off, the Jags hired Urban Meyer, college football legend coach who won a national championship with Ohio State. He won 2 national championships with Florida. He took Utah to their first undefeated season. He took Bowling Green and did pretty well with them. He's basically done well with every college team he's touched. He is yet to touch an NFL team, but the Jags will be the first. Brian, let's get your thoughts on Urban Meyer.
What's funny is at first I was like up and down about it because it's like, yeah, he's never coached in the NFL, and from him to go from retired twice to jumping to the NFL was definitely something huge. But as it kind of picked up steam, I kind of opened up to the idea. And then when it happened and I saw the press conference, I was like, okay, I'm sold. This guy's legit. And the only real concern I have for him is his health. But I think he even said himself, like he addressed it, that he's not going to be as crazy on the sideline like he used to be. And he's going to let his coaching staff take care of his, their positions that they're meant to do. So after that hiring, I really opened up to it. I think he's probably the biggest hiring in franchise history. And it showed when the tickets being bought in the offseason for deposits skyrocketed by about 10 times from last year. So fans are clearly excited. I'm excited, and I can imagine you guys are pretty excited too.
All right, Shawn.
I'm more excited now about it than I was initially. He still wasn't my first pick, but the guy who was my first pick might not even end up be a coach at all. So, speaking about Brian Dable, but I think he might be the right guy for the job because he is a proven culture changer, and this team badly needs.
We have lost Shawn. Shawn, you might want to repeat yourself. You kind of disappeared. Yeah, you disappeared for a second.
Oh, am I back now?
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
Okay. What'd you last hear?
You just finished saying Brian Dable was your number one.
Oh yeah, he was my number one. But I think Urban Meyer is a good culture changer. I think he'll be good for giving the team a new facelift because they need a culture adjustment for sure, attitude adjustment for sure. It's time to start winning some football games.
Agree. For me, I'm a Florida fan, so I kind of have a little bit of bias towards Urban Meyer, but I think, like Shawn said, he's going to be a culture changer. He said, like, his press conference was very good. He said he's going to get an elite staff, which, I mean, so far he's gotten a pretty good staff. We'll get into that later. But overall, I'm just really excited. I think Urban Meyer is going to have a lot of control on the players that we want. Like, we'll talk about a bunch of this stuff more in depth later, but yeah, Urban Meyer, I think he's a good hire. It's a little bit of a risky hire because obviously taking any coach from the college level to the NFL level, especially that when they've never done it, is kind of risky. Like, if you guys didn't know, Nick Saban, he didn't work out because he wasn't treating guys like men. He was treating them like college players. So they literally almost beat him up in the locker room. Two players almost beat him up in the locker room. It looks like Shawn has disappeared again. But yeah, that's our thoughts on Urban Meyer. Let us know how you guys feel in the comments below. Shawn is I don't know what's going on with Shawn. I think he's back now. But let's go ahead and move on to the general manager. The Jags, they did a lackluster job trying to hire a general manager. They just promoted the interim GM, Trent Balk, who has a history in San Francisco. It is not the best history, but we'll get into that in a little. We'll get into that as we go on. Shawn, give your thoughts on Trent Balk as general manager.
I don't have too many thoughts about Trent Baalke. He had some success with the Niners before. Then it all kind of fell apart. I think Urban Meyer is going to have a lot more of a say than Trent Baalke's previous head coaches did when he was with the Niners. He said he learned a lot from sitting on the sidelines more so than he did when he was actually in the league. So hopefully that translates. Hopefully he just ends up being a good GM, makes the right picks. Doesn't get crazy with picking people like AJ Jenkins in the first round, who only get one catch for 6 yards. It's probably his biggest failure as a GM. But it's not exciting. It's not unexciting. It just is.
All right, Brian, let's give your thoughts on Trent Baalke, however it is.
I think it's Balk, but I don't know at this point. I said it like a few days prior. I was like, it's going to be Balk. And it was. It just was too obvious. Like, Khan has not been the best with his GM picks. He picked a great coach, but I think personally, when I first started, I was like, oh God, we're so much trouble. And then Shawn was like, let's just let it play out. And he's been out of the league for a few years, so maybe he learned from his mistakes. And then I kind of thought about it, and I was like, maybe he's just not going to be it's a coach-centric team, which we'll get into later. But I think that it's more of a help for Urban Meyer to get used to the NFL, and it's more of like a not a crutch, but like a mentor to help him get used to the NFL lifestyle. And I don't think he's going to be GM more than 2 to 3 years, but for all we know, that could be wrong. He could end up being the GM the whole time. But I think he might not be the GM the whole time. Maybe he'll get a demotion and we'll get a new GM that may fit Urban's needs, because reports say that Balk wasn't Urban's pick. It was more of Khan saying, hey, let's get this guy in the building. We think he's good. And he said, all right, that's fine. So I personally think that we pick another GM down the road. He stays in the building maybe, but I think this is more of just, hey, help Urban Meyer get used to the NFL and get his feet wet.
Yeah, for me, I don't like it, but like Shawn and Brian both said, he's not going to be the top guy like he was with the Niners. With the Niners, he could do pretty much whatever he wanted. Like, he was the reason why some coaches got fired. There was always some beef going on. Personally, I think Trent Balk kind of has a little bit of a high ego that's not that good. But again, it's been off for a couple of years, so it's possible that he's kind of learned from his mistakes. But just from his history, he's had some struggles getting along with people, which I hope he can get along with Urban Meyer, because if anybody gets canned, it's going to be Trent. So hopefully he realizes that, and he probably does. And also, this is kind of not specific to Trent Balk necessarily, but one thing I really don't like about Shad Khan is how lazy he can get with some of these hires. Because I believe anytime we've had an interim during his time, whether it's head coach or general manager, he's just hired them. Like Doug Marrone, interim head coach. Okay, you can just be promoted. Trent Balk, interim GM. Okay, you can just be promoted. And it's like, come on, that's not what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to go out and actually hire somebody, not somebody that was just sitting in your building before. Like, please go out and actually do something and stop being so lazy. But yeah, that's the kind of things that annoy me as Shad Khan, but it is what it is. Not like we can force him to sell the team. But yeah, like we were saying, Shad Khan, during the press conference with Urban Meyer, did say that he wants to be a coach-centric team instead of what we had mostly been for our past. We had been a general manager team. He wants us to be a coach team where the coach gets to decide who they want to be their players, and the general manager and the owner kind of go with that and get it done. So I think Trent is more of just, he has some experience in the league. He's going to be able to help Urban kind of get used to things, and he's going to be able to get some of the stuff physically done but I don't think he's going to really be making any decisions. He's just going to be kind of doing it. So that is Trent Balk and Urban Meyer are your two top dogs of the Jaguars organization going into 2021. Now let's get into some assistants. We'll let Shawn introduce all the assistants that nothing's official yet, but these are pretty much everybody who's going to be it. It'll be official this week, but these are everybody who has been reported is going to be what. So, yeah, Shawn, let's hear it.
There is a couple official, but okay.
Yeah. For offensive coordinator, they got Darrell Bevell, which I think is pretty good. He had his best years in Seattle with Russell Wilson, so if he can bring that over here with Trevor Lawrence, that'll be good. Defensive coordinator, they got Joe Cullen over from the Ravens. He was the D-line coach there. He used to be the D-line coach here. I remember him as D-line coach here. He was a really, really high-energy guy, almost in that Robert Saleh makeup as far as, higher energy on the sideline. I'm not saying he's going to be Robert Saleh. I'm just saying he has that same kind of makeup. I can't remember the guy who they got for special teams. What was his name again?
We hired somebody for special teams. I thought we just lost.
No, we lost Joe D. Then they said they're going to bring somebody over. It's like Brian Schneider or something.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Brian Schneider from the Seattle Seahawks. Yep.
Yeah,
Yes.
I don't know. I know nothing about him, to be honest. So
yeah, I heard some Seahawks fans say he sucks, but to be honest, fans are kind of exaggerated towards anything.
Yeah, so I don't really have an opinion on that one. Chris Ash is supposed to be coming over as DB coach. I don't really have any thoughts about him because I really not too familiar with him at all either. Linebacker coach is supposed to be Charlie Strong. He was a pretty good head coach when he was at Louisville. Then he went to Texas, and I'm pretty sure that didn't work out very well for him. But so that's a decent hire. Overall he's making decent hires. I believe he's got somebody else he's got coming over for or Trent Baalke brought with him from when he was time in San Francisco. I can't remember his name either, but he's coming over for like a player personnel role probably. I don't know. Like the hires aren't like wooing me. They're not super exciting, but they're all guys who have a ton of experience coaching, whether college or pro. The coordinators I think are good hires. They got a lot of experience in the NFL, which is what Urban Meyer needed to do. When he's hiring coordinators on both sides of the ball was get a lot of guys with experience. So that's good that he did that. Overall, not too exciting, but we'll see how it works out.
Yeah, definitely. To add on top of that, there was some there was rumors and stuff that the top target for the Jags was Raheem Morris, former defensive coordinator for the Falcons, but the Rams did swoop in and take him. So then we ended up with Cullen's good. I believe Tom Pelissero said the plan was for us to get Joe Cullen as a run game coordinator and assistant defensive coordinator, and Raheem Morris as defensive coordinator. So we could have gotten them both, but the Rams kind of got in the way. Like the Rams also took Joe DeCamillis, who I think all three of us are kind of upset with that because Joe D, he's actually a pretty dang good coordinator, especially with the struggles he had this year. He had to use 6 kickers and 2 punters, one of them not even being an actual punter. Like, come on now. The Jags are also keeping George Warhop at offensive line coach, or they're expected to at least, which I don't really have thoughts. The offensive line, Cam Robinson, he kind of improved a little bit. I don't want Cam Robinson. We'll get into that in our next podcast. But
I think, can I put an input on that, is George Warhop is actually one of the best O-line coaches in the league, and he's very well respected around the league. And I think the reason they kept him is, one, he's got the experience. And you also got to look at some of the players that have also bleeped, and Norwell, who I was against for a while, has improved since signing that contract. I think some of the guys, Shawn, I think some of the guys like Cam are just, they've hit their ceiling at this point. And I don't think they're that great. And I think that's why he's just kind of there and just doing whatever. But then you got Taylor, who struggled on the right side, but that could be a sophomore slump. And I think that he needs another year to improve, and I think he's got the potential to be a better tackle. But some guys like, Cam Robinson just might need to be sent to the side and try to draft somebody or even sign someone in free agency. And I think the O-line will improve. And, we've got 3, maybe 4 positions that are solidified. Norwell, Linder, questionable with Taylor. And you got Can, who has been up and down, but we might keep him. And then if you think about Cam Robinson, I think we let him go, if I'm being honest. I think he's going to ask for too much. I think we draft somebody or we go with somebody in free agency.
All right, and the final assistant that we do know of is Sterling Lucas. He's going to follow Joe Cullen from the Ravens, which we're not sure what he's going to do yet, but I think we all think it's going to be defensive line coach. So that's a pretty good hire, to be fair. But yeah, there's some other positions. We're all holding out a prayer that Keenan McCardell stays, but we'll see how that goes.
Anything's better than Todd Wash.
Facts. Todd Wash has been washed. Speaking of Todd Wash, the Jets just a couple days ago, they hired an offensive assistant named Todd Washington. So prayers for the Jets fans. Shawn's back. But yeah, Todd Washington at the Jets. Might be Todd Wash with a wig on. Who knows? Playing offense, doing offense this time. But
So
yeah. Yeah, you guys have any last second you want to get your thoughts out on all the assistants that have been hired or kept so far? Anything crazy?
honestly, I think the best hire is, as weird as this sounds, I'm going to go with the defensive coordinator, because we went from Todd Wash to Joe Cullen. Like, the difference between the two from like this to this is pretty high compared to, Gruden to Bevel. The difference in how bad Wash was compared to getting Joe Cullen.
I don't know what's going on with Brian's mic right now, but I'll let you guys know what he said, basically. He said the difference between Gruden to Bevel is not much different than – I mean, it's not as much different as the big difference between Joe Cullen and Todd Wash, but I think Brian's mic might be good again. Here you go, bud.
Yeah, is it good? Okay. Joe Cullen, I think, is going to bring a lot of help to that D-line, and we also need to fix some of the positions on the D-line. But I think that he's going to really unleash Chase on, and he's going to bring the best out of Allen, because I think he came from the Ravens, and I think he ran a 3-4 in bowl. Is more of a 3-4 than a 4-3. So if we go to a 3-4, I fully expect the defense to take some serious leaps from where they were, and I expect a lot more potential out of Chase on, and even Allen, who struggled when he played. And I think we might even see not just Schober, but we might see Shaq on the inside linebacker with him, and then maybe move Miles Jack outside or something. I'm not sure how they're going to work it with the 3-4 with Jack on the outside or maybe in the inside, or if they do Chase on standing up. I don't know how they're going to do it, but it's going to be interesting to see what they do and how they move Jack around on a 3-4, because I don't think he's ever been in one.
Indeed. Miles Jack is going to go off because we have a very our linebackers coach is somebody who has too much of a history to be just a simple linebackers coach.
They're overqualified.
Overqualified. Thank you. You gave me the word I was looking for. Yeah, I'd like having an overqualified assistant, especially when your best player on defense is at that position. I mean, our linebacker core, we have Joe Schobert, who people hated for the longest time, which, I mean, I was always defending him because it's like, come on now. He's got Todd Wash as his defensive coordinator. Cut that guy some slack.
He's got Todd Wash as his defensive coordinator. He has nobody in front taking up blockers. Blockers are getting to him easily.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know what is going on with Shawn's Shawn's internet, but we'll deal with it today. So yeah, he's gonna be in and out. I don't know what's going on, but yeah. Oh, Shawn, you're back. Okay, continue what you were saying. You were cutting out again.
I was saying that he had no blocks, nobody eating up blocks in front of him to like stop blockers from getting up to the second level to take him out. It's like, what do you want this guy to do? And yeah, my internet's a little spotty today, so apologies.
It's all good. But yeah, Joe Schobert, he's pretty good. I mean, he's that white guy who's going to get run past a couple times, but is what it is. He's pretty good in coverage. I mean, he had a couple struggles, but I think he led the team in interceptions, most likely. I don't think anybody else had more than him. He he made Trubisky look like Mitch Trubisky. That was hilarious. Trubisky just ran around the whole field and then just threw it into quadruple coverage. But yeah, linebacker group is good. So I think Charlie Strong is going to have a good time there. But let's go ahead and move on to the league as an entirety. Brian, we'll let you introduce every team's head coaching hire. We don't care about their assistants. If you care about their assistants, then go watch a podcast of that team.
Yeah. So the Jets hired Robert Saleh. I thought that was a pretty good hire for their situation. I think he's definitely deserved a starting or a head coaching job, and I think the Jets got a good coach in him. It's going to be interesting to see how much the defense improves because he is a defensive-minded coach, and I think he was a good fit for that team. Now it's going to be interesting to see what he does with Darnold because he's been talking a lot about Darnold, and he didn't just say Darnold's our guy like Kingsbury did. He's been saying a lot about him, so it's going to be interesting to see if it's a smokescreen or if they're going to end up getting Fields or Wilson. Chargers, Brandon Staley.
Or Deshaun Watson.
Well, apparently I just saw a report, Matt Miller, NFL scout, said that the reports about that were simply false and it is not his preferred destination. So that stinks, Jets fans. I'm sorry that you have to hear that. Probably going to end up with Fields.
Is what it is.
Exactly. You shouldn't have bullied us about Trevor. No, what happened? Chargers, Brandon Staley. I have no idea who that is. I haven't heard that name before.
He is the Rams defensive coordinator. He led the Rams to the #1 defense in the league, but they got embarrassed by the Packers on national television. So take that how you will.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's you got to also look at the fact that the Packers have the #1 offense in the league. And
also, sorry to cut you off. He's referred to as the Sean McVay of defense. So he's a young guy. He's really defensive minded. Like Sean McVay hired him as defensive coordinator to be like the defensive version of him. So that's what whenever they speak about him on TV, that's what they always say. So yeah, sorry to cut you off there.
You're good. That's a pretty good hire then. I mean, I didn't know about him until now. But if he's a good defensive coach, I mean, the Chargers are definitely a team that's known for defense. So hopefully they can get some more out of that defense and let Herbert lead the charge, which is definitely a big fan of. Shawn is a big fan of him. So I'm sure Shawn is rooting for Herbert this year, especially after being on such a terrible team with all those blown leads and stuff because of the defense. Lions, Dan Campbell.
He'll bite your kneecaps off.
Yeah, I'm going to say wait and see on that guy. When I watched his press conference and I listened to see like what he's all about, I was like, this is either going to be a spectacular failure or a spectacular win for this team. It's not even going to be in between. It's going to go down the drain or it's going to be an absolutely amazing hire. For the Lions' sake, I kind of hope it's a good hire because the Lions have been bad so long. It's kind of embarrassing. Eagles, I don't even know. Eagles are just, at this point, the Eagles. They're becoming they're low-key the Texans of the NFC. I feel bad for that entire team. I don't know who the heck Nick Sirianni. I guess we'll wait and see on that one. Falcons, Arthur Smith. All right, that's my favorite hire. We actually were very high on Arthur Smith. We all wanted him. He's a great offensive-minded coach. He transformed Tannehill and turned him into a quality starter, even a good starter, I'd say. He had some really good games when they shut down Henry. He balled out when he had the opportunity. And I think that's a big loss for the Titans and a big win for the Jags. And I really hope the Falcons really turn it around with him. And I'm curious to see what they do this offseason now that he's in charge of the head coaching position.
And now the big final head coaching hire, the one everybody has been waiting for, the most exciting one left. Brian, give it to us now. That's what she said.
This is a family-friendly podcast, Josiah. Watch your language. Anyways, the Texans, they have hired absolutely nobody. They are still struggling to find a pick. They have no picks. They are struggling to find a head coach. They've interviewed Eric Bieniemy. They even interviewed Josh McCown, who has zero head coaching skills. You're muted. Josiah,
I was muted. I clicked unmute, but Okay. This is only episode 2. Leave me alone. But they they interviewed a guy who was literally on the roster a couple months ago.
It's just disgraceful to just even consider that. And people are like, why didn't you, look at Eric and he's the offensive coordinator. And then in comes the race stuff, and I'm not going to get into that. But there's a reason he's not hired, and it's a lot of spectacles that he's not the one calling the plays, and it's actually Andy Reid, which is very possible. And apparently it's not even just that. He's interviewing terribly. Everybody said he's interviewing bad. And that's on him. Do I think he ends up getting a job? I think he does for the sake of Watson. Because if I'm the Texans, you got to keep Watson from leaving at all costs. Because once you lose Watson, it's going to be uncharted waters at that point, because that's your future right there. But he is pissed with ownership. So how they handle this, I don't know. He's already sick of the ownership. My guess is he probably ends up traded. I hope he gets traded for the Jaguars' sake, and honestly for his sake. He's a great guy, and he deserves better than this. He's been through so much hell with this team. And, if he goes anywhere, I'd like to see him on the Panthers, get out of the AFC. But it's really going to be interesting to see what they do. And good luck, Texans. You guys are in trouble.
The Texans are the Jaguars, they're the 2019 Jaguars under Tom Coughlin, and that was a wreck. But that was just a fun series of events. But yeah, Shawn, which of these hires, including Urban Meyer, do you think was the best? Texans is an option.
I say either Urban Meyer or Arthur Smith. Those will be probably the best hires, just for the situation they came to. Like, Urban Meyer was like a perfect fit for the Jags. Arthur Smith, I'm just glad he's out of the division because he turned the Titans into a monster on offense. I think each hire, honestly, so far has been decent. Robert Saleh, I think that was good for the Jets. They had the last ranked defense in the league, so now they got a defensive guy coming in here to try to fix that. Nick Sirianni, he got the job because he's basically a Frank Reich guy. Can you hear me still?
Yeah, you were. We could hear you. It's just it was like lagging, but you're good.
Yeah, Nick Sirianni, he's basically a Frank Reich guy. He's going to come in and try to resurrect Wentz's career pretty much. Urban and Arthur Smith, I think those are the best hires in my opinion.
Okay, for me, the best hire is probably Urban Meyer or Robert Saleh. Robert Saleh, he's brought really good assistants to the Jets. I think I wasn't really high on him for the longest time, but I think he'll be a pretty decent coach, especially with the assistants he's bringing. And also, a lot of players like Robert Saleh, so they might get some nice free agents. You never know. And the worst hire, in my opinion, was Nick Sirianni because, I get what they're doing, but it's like you just hired the most random guy who's the Colts offensive coordinator when Frank Reich is calling the plays. I don't know what the Eagles are doing, but, at least they're not the Texans. Brian, who's your best hire? Who's your worst hire? You already kind of gave some hints, but put it out.
I got to go with the Jags because, and Urban Meyer, I know it's biased, but like his history as a coach in college, even though it's not the NFL, is incredible. And if you look at the other guys that were hired, they have zero head coaching experience at all levels, as far as I know. So I think Urban is probably the best pick out of all teams. I think he's got the most potential to turn this team around because he's got a lot of potential on the offense. He's got potential on the defense. He just has to fix some holes. And I think we can turn it around relatively quickly. And he's going to change that culture tremendously and very quickly. And I'm very much looking forward to seeing it. And I really hope they get on Hard Knocks because that would be absolutely awesome. I think that would be a big-time moneymaker for HBO. And the worst hire, Texans. That's just no brainer because they don't have a hire. And
they could hire me and it'd be
I could hire a homeless person on the street.
They could hire literally a quarterback who was playing just 2 months ago.
Like, no offense to him, he's just not someone you should hire in general. I mean, I could see you
Hire him
hiring
as
like
QB coach or
that,
something.
yeah, that or offensive coordinator or something, but like head coach, like what?
I think they're just waiting for the Chiefs to be done so they can get Bieniemy. That's what I think is happening.
Yeah, I think they're just wasting time. They're bored.
Well, I don't think you can hire him anyway. So like everybody's like, why doesn't he have a job yet? I don't think you can hire him yet.
Yeah, exactly. You can't. That's the funny thing. It's everybody's like, why doesn't he have a job? Why doesn't he have a job? I mean,
how did Dan Campbell get a job and Bieniemy still doesn't got a job yet? Well, technically he has a job. He just can't leave it yet.
Brian Dable doesn't have a job either.
Yeah, that guy deserves a job too.
Brian Dable, I think all three of us are in agreement that Brian Dable was the best option and would be the best hire for anybody. The Chargers fumbled the bag. Everybody thought the Chargers were going to hire Brian Dable for Justin Herbert in that offense, and then they just said, "Nah, we're impatient."
Going back to Dan Campbell though, man, he's made some good coordinator hires though. I know we said it. Go watch the Lions podcast if you want to be on the Lions assistants or whatever. Yeah, I used to be a Lions fan before the Jaguars were a thing because I was raised that way, but. So I keep an eye on them every now and again. But, man, they have made some decent coordinator hires. Aaron Glenn, defensive coordinator, he's a former Jag. I think he's going to be good. I think he's been DB coach for the Saints for the last 4 years. Their DBs play pretty well. Man, I really think they got something going there. But everybody likes to make fun of that Dan Campbell because of his press conference. But, hey, man, that's Detroit to the T right there, son.
Didn't they hire Anthony Lynn as OC as well?
Yeah, Anthony Lynn is.
That's an incredible hire. That's a great hire.
Only thing with them is they're supposedly trading Stafford, which might hurt. But
and they're probably going to lose Kenny Golladay and Marvin Jones unless they franchise tag.
Full on rebuild.
Franchise tag.
Full on rebuild. It's all right.
There's a reason why Dan Campbell was given 6 years.
It's going to take just about that long to get it back.
It's like Matt Rule. He was given like 6 or 7 years to rebuild that franchise.
Yeah.
But yeah, we got about 5 minutes left. You guys got any last little notes you want to give on anybody, the NFL, the head coaching hires, or anything going on in football?
All I got is two championship games today, AFC Championship, NFC Championship.
I got Bills and I got Packers. Bills taking it all.
Yep, I've got Bills and Packers. As much as I want to see the Packers win, I might have to choose the Bills to win the whole thing because, Bills haven't had a championship in several years.
I hate picking against the Chiefs, though. It's so hard to pick against playoff Chiefs.
Baby.
Bills-Bucks would be a fun game, too.
Tom Brady about to get another ring, son.
Oh, man.
Go Blue, no. Michigan Wolverines, woo!
If the Chiefs...
Get out of here, Shawn. We're kicking you out of the podcast. You're not coming back next time.
Unacceptable. If the Chiefs end up winning and then the Packers win, then I'm going to pick the Packers to obviously win because I love the Chiefs, but I don't want to see them win again. I'd like to see Rodgers get another ring. It just depends on who ends up in the game is going to determine whether I pick the Packers or not. If it's the Bills and Jaguars, then I'm picking the Bills. So,
if it's Bills, Packers, I'm taking Bills. It's so hard to pick against the Chiefs, especially the playoff Chiefs. The playoff Chiefs are a different animal, but Patrick Mahomes isn't 100%, but even if he was 100%, I'd still pick the Bills. I just think the Bills are kind of I think this is their year.
It's great.
And if it's Chiefs, Packers, I'm taking the Chiefs because the Chiefs will be even more healthy than they are this week. And I just think playoff Chiefs, if they can beat the Bills, I think they're going to win it again. But yeah, hope you guys did enjoy this episode of the podcast. It's a little bit of a shorter one. I mean, it wasn't even short, but it's shorter than normal. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. We'll be back what am I saying? We'll be back after the Super Bowl for our big couple-hour podcast. We got a lot. We're going to be doing mock drafts. We're going to be doing free agency predictions. We're going to be doing everything off-season that you could want to see for the Jags.
Can't wait for that one. Cannot wait for that one.
I know.
That's my favorite part of the season because the Jaguars are always winning the off-season, baby.
We're going to be putting our general manager caps on. Screw Trent Balk. It's our job now. But
pretty sure it's Trent Balky, but okay.
Brett. Okay. We'll come back to you guys next time and see if it's Balky or Balk. Because it's a 2-1 vote here, Shawn.
Shad Khan said Balky, so it's Balky.
Well, it's Shad? His name is Shad?
Shad Khan said Balky, so it's Balky.
Thought it was Shad Khan.
Hey, I call him Shad like a fish. There you go. Because he's drowning the team.
As Brian's drinking water or something, drowning himself.
Yeah, dry drowning.
Yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. We'll see you guys in a couple weeks.
All right.
Peace.
Later.